At the beginning, the scene showed a classroom where a boy was sitting on his seat while reading a book, thinking that he liked this seat because he could quietly read his light novels alone. He noticed that the extroverts were as loud as ever, hanging out again that day, and thought that if he had to hang out with people like them, he would rather remain a loner introvert. He felt that his seat was the best that day too. His name was Ryouta Izumiya, and he thought that being surrounded 2 or even 3 layers deep by the rest of the class made this corner seat truly a god-tier seat. He resolved that he had to savor every single second of it. Suddenly, someone called out for everyone's attention, saying they were doing seat changes that day. Ryouta was stunned and seemed panicked, thinking, "Wow," with a panicked face. The girls in front of him said to each other that it was the first time that year, and another girl mentioned that she had heard the class representative, Karaoke, had asked the teacher. Ryouta thought angrily, wondering why Karaoke had to mess things up, thinking that for a loner like him, seat changes were nothing but high risk with no reward, with an angry face. A girl announced that she had posted the new seating chart and told everyone to go take a look. A girl bumped into Ryouta, saying she was next to Suzuki and woo-hooing before apologizing. Ryouta, stunned, went to see the board and wondered where his seat was. He said in shock that his seat was in the center, thinking maybe he was surrounded by fellow introverts too. He was stunned to see that he was sitting in the middle of 3 names and wondered why someone like him, an introvert of all people, had ended up there. He clenched his teeth, thinking that being surrounded by 3 S-tier beautiful girls was, no matter how he looked at it, the worst seat possible, with a scared face. He overheard 2 boys saying they were jealous, with one saying he would love to get close to those 3 girls. Ryouta thought that they were the center of the class, the undisputed caste, and all he wanted was to sit quietly in a corner and enjoy his light novels. But to him, this was nothing short of hell. That said, he noticed the girl next to him, whom he had never seen before. At that moment, a girl said something, and Ryouta thought that the embodiment of cute, airy mama was so sly, and wondered why someone like her was sitting in front of him. Thinking this was the worst, Airi complimented another girl's nails, saying they were so pretty, to which the other girl replied that she didn't do anything special, but thanked her. Ryouta thought that the downer-type gyaru, Yura Ichinose, was intimidating, and he feared they would get the wrong idea about him. Sure, he liked big boobs and curvy bodies, but in real life, gyarus were intimidating. Yura remarked that their seats were pretty close, and Airi agreed, wondering if Rui-chan arranged it so they would be near each other. Airi called out to Rui-chan, and Ryouta thought that Rui Kyoki was the mastermind behind the seat change. Rui then greeted Ryouta, saying it had been a long time and that they were neighbors starting that day, introducing herself politely. Ryouta, with a scared face, replied nervously, greeting her back. Rui smiled, and Airi seemed confused, while Yuria noted that the teacher was coming. The teacher said that the seat change was finished, but warned them not to get too excited, since it was only allowed because the class rep, Kuroi, insisted on it. The teacher added that seat changes were pointless and that they did not plan on allowing another one. Ryouta, with a tense face, thought in shock whether he was really stuck with that seat until the end of the 2nd year. The teacher concluded homeroom. Airi asked Rui-chan if she knew Ryouta, to which Rui replied that they were in the same class back in middle school. Airi reacted with a small, "Hey, Ryouta." While reading his book, Ryouta wondered if Kuroki even remembered him and felt annoyed that he was curious about it. He told himself to calm down and decided to read his light novel. Suddenly, Airi exclaimed that it was a dirty picture book, which stunned and scared Ryouta, who told her to shut up. Yura stared at Ryouta, making him think that she was totally judging him. Yura then changed the topic, saying she was going out to buy sushi that day and asking the others about their plans. Ryouta thought with a smile that it was a girl talk and felt thankful that the teasing was over. Rui mentioned she was free since track and field had the day off and asked Airi about her plans. Airi, with a tense face, apologized, saying she would pass that day because her boyfriend wanted to go to Starbucks after school. Yuri accepted it, saying it couldn't be helped, and Airi apologized again. Ryouta thought how enviable it was, realizing that a bottom feeder like him had nothing to do with that. Later, Ryouta was seen walking on the streets thinking about what a day it had been, and how the jealous stares from other guys were painful. He saw a boy and girl walking together, with the girl complaining the boy was pervy, and Ryouta, annoyed, thought, "Damn, normies." However, he told himself that he had his beloved world of manga and light novels, and that day was the release day of the LN he wanted. At the bookstore, he saw that his novel was out of stock. The staff apologized, saying it was currently out of stock. Ryouta, in a soulless state, replied that he understood, thinking it was to be expected since it was his favorite web novel, Opai Sway or Boob Sucker, and that it couldn't be helped as it was a hot title. He called another bookstore, introducing himself and asking if they had that light novel in stock, feeling embarrassed saying its name out loud. The girl on the line sounded unusually cheerful and familiar to him, and he wondered if he was imagining things. She confirmed they had 4 copies left. Ryouta thanked her, saying he would head over right away, and she replied enthusiastically. Ryouta was stunned, thinking they should hang up after a customer call, and wondered if it was a new part-timer. When he reached the store, he told the staff that he was the one who called earlier. The girl, while carrying books, confirmed about the book, but then noticed him, stunned, saying it was the boy who sat beside her. It turned out to be Airi, who was blushing and seemed tense. Ryouta was also tense and decided to pretend he didn't see anything, turning to leave. Suddenly, Airi called him and grabbed his shoulder, asking if he planned to tell everyone that she had a part-time job. Ryouta was confused, and Airi explained that she had gotten the school's permission and was working within allowed hours, and tearfully begged him not to tell anyone. Another girl interrupted, telling them that lovers' quarrels were against the rules during shifts, making Airi blush, and Ryouta thought that at least she should correct her as he wasn't her boyfriend. The girl told Airi to take a break in the break room, and Airi wiped her tears, saying, "Okay." In the staff room, Airi apologized, saying it was her fault. Ryouta replied that he was sorry too, thinking with a blushing face that it was too close, and that a loner like him couldn't handle being alone at such a distance with a girl. Airi tearfully confessed that she was scared of being called poor again, like back then. Ryouta, with a tense face, asked what she meant by poor. In tears, Airi explained that her family was really poor. Her dad had passed away when she was little, and her mom raised her alone. She didn't get any allowance and had many tough times. Ryouta thought she had it rough more than he expected. Airi continued, saying that back in middle school, when her friends started wearing makeup, she was the only one who couldn't keep up, making her feel left out and miserable. She worked hard to save money and studied fashion and makeup until she could become the cute version of herself. But to keep that cute version up, it had to face the reality that it costs money. Ryouta asked if that was why she got a job, and Airi confirmed it. Ryouta thought that getting a part-time job didn't automatically mean she was poor. Airi added that it didn't bother her if people called her poor anymore, as she had gotten used to it, but she absolutely didn't want Yuta or Rui, who became her friends back in first year, to find out. That was why, with tears in her eyes and leaning close to Ryouta, she pleaded with him. Ryouta, blushing, told her honestly that he really respected her. Airi was stunned, and Ryouta explained that he had never even bought anything with money he earned himself, so compared to him, she was way more mature. He added that he could never look down on someone like her, and absolutely wouldn't. Ryouta thought to himself what the heck he was saying, and turned to see Airi smiling with a blush while wiping her tears, saying that he was actually pretty sweet. She giggled softly while smiling, and Ryouta, blushing, asked what she meant. Airi got up, saying she should get back to work. Ryouta asked in surprise, and Airi reminded him that he came there to buy that boob whatever book. Ryouta was later shown kneeling, thinking he should have been able to buy it, but his opai sway was gone. Suddenly, Airi came close to his ear, asking if he found the book he was looking for. Ryouta, shocked and blushing, replied that it was sold out. Airi laughed, and Ryouta smiled while thinking that was why he couldn't deal with extroverts. Airi then slid a book to him, and Ryouta, stunned, saw that it was opai. Airi asked if he wanted it, saying that when he called, she set a copy aside for him while smiling. Ryouta was stunned and blushing, thinking that Airi was seriously an angel. Airi then asked what her thank you was for reserving it, making Ryouta bow and thank her very much. Airi repeated her question, and Ryouta was stunned, asking, "Huh?" Airi explained that she set it aside out of a customer service spirit, so in return he should treat her to something, as that was the deal. Ryouta, shocked, listened as Airi said that now that he had seen her true nature, she might as well say that she was a pretty straightforward girl. She wrapped her hand around his arm, telling him to treat her to something at the cafeteria the next day. Ryouta, blushing, thought that she was definitely not an angel, but a little devil. Airi then asked his name, and he told her it was Izumiya Ryouta. Airi replied, calling him Ryouta, and said she would be looking forward to lunch break the next day, smiling and blushing. Ryouta was stunned and blushed as Airi smiled slightly. Someone called Airi to the register, and she replied that she was coming, leaving while saying, "See ya." Ryouta, with a tense face, thought in shock that having lunch with Airi Miyama, one of the queens of the school caste hierarchy, was totally insane, no matter how he looked at it. Ryouta Izumiya was sitting at his desk in the classroom, thinking that after the seat change he ended up surrounded by beautiful girls which sucked for him. Somebody from behind said they were jealous of Yuzumi's seat, wondering why that otaku got such a spot when he was only into 2D stuff. With a tense face, Ryouta told himself to just focus on his light novel. Then he noticed legs in front of his desk and thought, Looking up, he saw Yuria Ichinose staring at him. He wondered in shock why the gloomy gal-nose Yura was looking at him. Then she said, "I remembered something." With a scared expression, Ryouta wondered what that was supposed to mean and replied with a confused, "Huh?" Yuria then greeted Ari with a morning, and Ari replied back. Ari looked at Ryouta and winked, causing him to blush and think that it made them look like they were secretly dating. Yura asked Ari why she winked, and Ari said it was for no reason. Ryouta, shaking, put his head down on his desk, wondering what that wink actually meant. Later, Ari suggested they eat, and Ryouta replied, "Thanks for the food." Ari said it was tasty while eating and thanked him for treating her, apologizing for picking something kind of expensive. Ryouta said it was fine, as it was to thank her for yesterday. Ari then asked if he noticed people staring at them. The classmates were whispering among themselves, jealous that the two of them were eating together. Ryouta thought he couldn't blame them. While eating, Ari asked Ryouta if he was talking with Yura that morning, mentioning that it was rare to see Yura talking with a guy. Ryouta replied that Yura had said, "I remembered it." Ari asked what she meant by that, but Ryouta said that's what he wanted to know too, feeling like it was a pretty high bar for him to ask. Ari suggested that she could ask Yura for him, but Ryouta declined, saying it wouldn't be fun that way. With a smile, Ari offered to tell him Yura's secret hangout so he could ask her directly, calling it Operation Get Close to Yura. Ryouta was stunned and asked what she meant, but Ari told him she thought Yura wanted to be friends, and since their seats were close together, they should all try to get along. Blushing, Ryouta suggested that maybe Ari should act as the mediator instead, but Ari refused, saying it would be boring that way. Ryouta thought to himself that she was a little devil. Later, Ryouta was standing in front of a building, thinking that this was Ichinose's secret spot. He guessed if she was a gal, maybe it would be the photo booth area. Tilting his head, he noted she wasn't there, but then he heard some clacking sounds. Turning around with a tense face, he saw a girl at the arcade claw machine, thinking about her nails as she pressed buttons. The girl was saying "milk tan," and Ryouta noticed her chest and her thighs and realized it was Ichinose. She was frustrated that it wasn't going well, and Ryouta thought she was really struggling with it. With a tense face, he wondered if a gal like her was going after an erotic bishoujo anime figure for resale. Blushing, he thought, no way, resale? Suddenly, Yuria turned around, and both of them said, "Ah," in surprise. Blushing, Yuri accused him of trying to get dirt on her and expose her for going after a figure, asking if he planned to ruin her. Ryouta frantically denied it, saying he actually came there to win that figure himself. She was surprised and asked if he was really trying to win it too. Covering his mouth with his hand, Ryouta asked why she was trying to get that figure and whether she was planning to give it to someone. Blushing, she stayed silent, so Ryouta asked if she was planning to resell it. Angrily, she grabbed his collar and told him not to lump her in with sleaze bags, shouting that she was trying to win it herself so she wouldn't have to buy it from resellers. Ryouta thought, crap, realizing that resale might have been a trigger word for her. Yuria, frustrated, asked if he was even listening. Ryouta then dropped a coin into the machine and told her to let go of his hands so he could focus. Blushing, she asked what he was doing. He told her he had trained solely to win bishoujo figures, thinking claw machines were meant to be won with a gentle touch. Dropping another coin, he declared that with this, he won the figure. Yuria blushed, calling him amazing and seriously praising him. Smiling, Ryouta handed her the figure, and Yuria was surprised, asking if he was sure since he was the one who won it. Ryouta said he was only able to win it because she had worked so hard on the machine, and that it belonged to her. She was stunned, and asked if he wasn't going to make fun of her for being a high school girl into erotic anime, saying no matter how you looked at it, it was weird. Ryouta admitted he was surprised she liked an erotic anime where breast milk shoots out, making her flinch, but he continued, saying there was nothing wrong with proudly loving what you love. He explained he didn't even use a cover for his light novels anymore because he wasn't ashamed of what he loved, saying that's what it meant to be an otaku. He added that while there was nothing wrong with hiding your hobbies, if you love something, you shouldn't put it down yourself. Yuria was stunned by his words. Ryouta thought to himself, what the hell am I saying? I'm bottom of the barrel. He then suggested they both forget everything that happened that day, but Yura refused, saying she didn't want to because she was an otaku too.
Ryouta was shocked and asked if she was really an otaku. Yuri explained she wasn't trying to hide it, but it was hard to be open about it in front of Ayu and Rui. Thinking about Ayu and Rui, Ryouta listened as Yuria explained that she was tired of losing close friends over her hobby, so she kept it hidden. She then stared at some girls, and Ryouta apologized, thinking maybe he had asked something out of line. Yuria confirmed his name was Izumiya, and Ryouta replied yes, thinking she didn't remember it. She came closer, put her hand on his shoulder, and told him not to tell anyone she was an otaku, especially not Ayu or Rui. Blushing, Ryouta promised he wouldn't tell anyone. Relieved, Yura went to her bag and said that meant she didn't have to hide it from him. She took out a book and smiled, revealing that what she remembered that morning was actually the book's title, Oppai Sweet. She asked for his line, deciding that he would be her partner for otaku talk from now on. Ryouta protested that it was too sudden, but Yuria threatened that if he didn't go along with her, she would tell everyone he'd been eyeing her thighs lewdly, exposing him to everyone. Blushing, Ryouta thought, she knows. Yuri laughed and said that from now on, that would be their relationship. Smiling and blushing as Ryouta blushed in defeat. While walking together out, Yuria asked if Ayu ran on the web too, since its follower count was insane. Ryouta confirmed it, thinking he ended up forming a slightly different relationship with Ichinose compared to Maki, noting that she was one of the top-ranking girls in their class. That night at his house, Ryouta lay on his bed thinking about how surprising it was that Ichinose was an otaku.
His phone beeped, and it was a message from Airi asking if he had asked Yuri about that morning. Ryouta thought he should cover up Yuri's secret and replied vaguely. Airi messaged back saying it was probably nothing big and to forget it. Then added that since she told him about Yuri, she kinda wanted to drink the new frappe from Staba as thanks. Ryouta was shocked, thinking she got a taste with the katsu curry, and replied that if it was next week, it was okay. Then his phone beeped again with a message from Ichinose thanking him for today and suggesting they watch a movie next time as thanks for the figure. Ryouta, scared, said there was no way he could go to that. Blushing, he thought about how he had a new frappe with Miyama in a movie with Ichinose, just the two of them, and how something like that happening in his gloomy life was unbelievable. He laid down, thinking this was what they called a ryaju. Ryouta concluded that it was all thanks to the seat change arranged by Kuroki Ruri, wondering if it was deliberate or just a coincidence. He questioned why someone like him, a gloomy nobody, got placed in such a prime seat. Thinking back to how they went to the same middle school but never even talked, he thought there was no way someone like her would even notice a speck like him. Meanwhile, at Rui's house, she was looking at a photo of Ryouta with a smile, saying, hee hee. Ryo was yawning in class, feeling sleepy. He thought he had stayed up pretty late last night, chatting with Ichinose online. As he dropped his umbrella in the stand, he thought about how she totally changed when it came to otaku talk. Suddenly, he heard someone say, ah, and turned his head to see Rui, who greeted him brightly, saying good morning and commenting that it was raining today. Ryo, startled, replied with an awkward, ah, yeah, and thought to himself whether Kuroki was always this chatty. Then Airi arrived, greeting Rui cheerfully, while Yuria also greeted Rui from behind Airi. Rui asked Yuri if she had felt lonely and called Airi to walk to school with her. Yuria blushed and called Rui an idiot, explaining that Airi's umbrella broke so she had to share with her. Airi teased Yuria to just be honest already. As Yuria glanced at Ryo and blushed, Ryo thought he had better make sure no one found out about yesterday. Airi asked Yuria what was wrong, and Yuria tried to brush it off, saying it was nothing. She said she would go ahead, and Rui, smiling, said she saw. Airi asked Rui if something was wrong, but Rui told her it was nothing and suggested they get going too. Rui turned to Ryo and smiled, making Ryo nervous. Later, Ryo sat at his seat with his head down, thinking in panic about Rui's smile that morning. He wondered if she had figured out what was going on between him and the two girls. He recalled Rui was a certified genius who dominated academics and sports, and that only Airi and Yuria could talk to her as equals. He feared that if she found out he knew her friend's secrets, she would interrogate him to protect them. He panicked, thinking she might have been probing him for info, and said to himself that he didn't get it. His phone beeped with a message from Airi asking him to have lunch in the empty classroom on the third floor since Yuria and Rui were busy and she was alone. He responded with, Later in class 3-8, Airi called out to Ryo asking what he and Rui had been talking about that morning. Ryo replied bluntly, asking if he thought he would just run his mouth about their secret. Airi denied that, saying what she wanted to know was why Rui was in such a good mood that morning.
Ryo asked if she was in a good mood, and Airi explained that Rui always seemed deadpan when talking to boys, like she was looking down on them, but with Ryo she actually looked like she was having fun. She said Rui had been like that even on the day of the seat change. Airi sighed and declared that Rui totally liked Ryo. Ryo was shocked and questioned her logic, saying he and Rui had literally zero interaction before the seat change. Airi, blushing, smiled and said they went to the same middle school, so maybe Rui secretly fell for him back then. Ryo thought exasperated about what this bomb-throwing girl was even saying. Airi suddenly smirked and said she got a great idea. Ryo thought he had a bad feeling about it.
Later, Ryouta was at the exit, thinking maybe he should just go straight home today. He wondered what the good thing Airi mentioned was. As he looked for his umbrella, he realized it was missing. Someone from behind said, "Ah, you finally showed up." And Ryouta turned around stunned to see Rui holding his umbrella. Rui said she had been waiting for him. Ryouta asked if that was his umbrella, and Rui explained that Airi said she had a date and really needed an umbrella, so Rui lent her hers. Rui realized it was Rui who had lent it. Rui continued saying, this time it was Rui-chan can't go home without it, implying Airi had asked him for help again. Rui apologized for dragging him into it. Ryouta understood the situation, but wondered how she knew that umbrella was his. Rui asked if they should head out together since they were going the same way. Ryouta nervously agreed. Rui commented that he had been using this umbrella since middle school and opened it. Ryouta wondered how she even knew that. Rui remarked that the umbrella was pretty big, and Ryouta offered to hold it. Rui smiled sweetly and stepped under it, saying, "Excuse me for intruding," which made Ryouta blush hard. Rui suddenly asked if he had a girlfriend recently. Ryouta, stunned and blushing, didn't answer immediately. Rui pressed further, asking if it was Yuria or Airi. Ryouta panicked, denying it frantically and saying there was no way a bottom-tier introvert like him could be dating anyone. Rui analyzed his reaction sharply, noting his obvious panic, sudden fast-talking and shaking hands, and concluded confidently that he was lying. Ryouta thought she was like a detective with her sharp deduction skills. Rui asked him why he had lunch with Airi in the cafeteria yesterday and why he was lying to her. She pressed him to explain how they got close. Ryouta, with a panicked face, said he was just thanking Airi because he ran into her at a store the other day and she let him have something he really wanted. Rui asked again if he was sure there was nothing between him and Airi, and Ryouta assured her there wasn't. Rui stared at him, then smiled and blushed slightly, saying she was relieved. Ryouta looked tense, wondering where this was coming from all of a sudden, as Rui explained that she was always a perfectionist in academics and sports and couldn't relax unless she met everyone's expectations perfectly. She said she was glad he didn't become Aries and felt relieved. Ryouta, stunned, asked what that was supposed to mean. Rui, standing close to him, said that back in middle school, he was the only boy who never confessed to her. Ryouta, surprised, asked if he was really the only one, and what about guys who already had girlfriends? Rui replied that they only chose someone else because she turned them down, comparing them to people settling for cheap cuts when they really wanted Chateaubriand. She said love was cruel, but Ryouta didn't even look at the meat at all, which set him apart from all the other predators. Rui asked him if he actually liked her too, but was just too embarrassed to confess, as she moved her face close to his. Ryouta blushed and said he didn't feel that way. Rui pressed her breasts against his chest, asking him to say he liked her. Ryouta, caught off guard, tapped his back against the wall and tried to leave, but Rui told him they were going to play a game. She wouldn't move from that spot until he confessed. Ryouta shouted that it was ridiculous and tried to leave, but Rui teased that leaving a girl alone in the downpour was cruel. With her face close to his, Ryouta blushed and thought that even if it was Kuroki, being forced to confess like this felt wrong. He told her to stop messing with him, saying she wouldn't be happy hearing a confession forced out of him. Rui grabbed his fingers and said while blushing, what if she told him she would be happy? Ryouta blushed and asked, huh? Rui, holding his hand, said she meant it, and ever since that day she had always... Suddenly, Yuria appeared behind Rui, scolding her for flirting and telling her to pick someone else. Yuria asked why Rui was walking home with Ryouta, reminding her that Airi borrowed Rui's umbrella, so Rui and she agreed to go home together instead. Yuria said she told Rui to wait while she finished up committee work, so why was Rui under Izumiya's umbrella? Ryouta thought it was weird since what Kuroki said earlier didn't match this. Rui stared at Ryouta, and Yuria told her to come along. Rui agreed and they left together. Ryouta sat on the ground thinking he wasn't totally sure what just happened, but it seemed Rui's whole game got canceled thanks to Yuria's. He decided to head home too. His phone beeped, and it was a message from Yuria, apologizing for acting cold earlier, saying it was just for Rui's sake and calling him my bad. Ryouta replied that she really didn't have to worry about that. Suddenly, his phone beeped again with another message, and his face turned pale. Rui had messaged him, saying since they got closer, she added him as a friend and told him to keep what happened earlier a secret from everyone. She warned him that if he spilled the beans, who knew what might happen. Rui then added, calling him by name, that she would make him fall for her, so he should just sit back and wait. Ryouta, scared, thought that was the opposite of reassurance. It was terrifying. His phone turned off, and he sighed, thinking why 3 beautiful girls were going after an introverted otaku like him. He realized that just like that, he found himself unwillingly holding on to the secrets of 3 of his class's most popular girls, and his peaceful life was undoubtedly completely doomed, all because of a single seat change arranged by Kuroki Ruri.